Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's weekly options watch list. Hopefully, you all had a wonderful weekend and are looking forward to getting back to trading here come Monday. So, before I get into the top 5 stocks that I'm looking at for this upcoming week, I want to do a quick market breakdown of the ES futures to see where this market could potentially go this upcoming week. So, let's get right into it. So, we'll start off here on the daily time frame of the ES, and the first thing to note is this 200 SMA. We have previously rejected it back here, and now we have once again rejected it here as well. So this is a strong resistance on the market as it continually rejects it. And last time we rejected it, we had a very strong sell-off, and that seems to be happening here once again, especially on Friday with a huge sell-off to end the day. So if we look at the overall structure here, we can see that this daily squeeze did give it a nice bull run up to that level, but now once again we are just falling back down to the downside. We have lost our daily 21 EMA, and if we can't recapture that level, I do think that more selling will happen. We could easily retest these previous lows, or worse, even make new lower lows here on the market. So the next thing I want to take a look at here is actually the weekly time frame, and this can kind of tell me a little bit more of where this market could potentially go. So if we look at last time that it tried to kind of break back up to the upside, it kind of got stuffed by this +1 ATR level and then sold off, and that's the exact same thing that happened here once again on the weekly time frame as it touched the +1 ATR, and then this one also coincided with the 50 SMA, so you kind of got a double rejection there, and then we get the strong sell-off after hitting those key levels. It is not looking good here on the weekly time frame as we did get a close below that 21 EMA. Ideally, you would like to see that get recaptured on the daily and the weekly to then be bullish again. But as of right now, due to the close on Friday, I am now bearish on the market just due to its overall structure. Another thing to note here on the weekly is we do have this low compression squeeze starting to form. If we can't recapture that level, or if we retest that level, I think that that could maybe be a good place to actually get short, as this market overall is still looking very bearish. And then the last thing I want to take a look at actually is the monthly time frame, and this can tell us a few things as well. So you had the huge bull run from 2020 to basically 2022 here, so 2 year really nice bull run. And as we lost the bullish momentum here on the squeeze histogram, that's when we saw this market start to kind of roll over and get some reversions back to the mean and actually break down below that mean, but it has been holding this -1 ATR level, and it hasn't been able to break out of the +1 ATR level, so it's kind of in a tight range, and that makes sense as we are now starting to form a new monthly squeeze. So I think we could potentially chop back and forth here for a while on the monthly as this new squeeze develops itself, and eventually I think it could fire to the upside, but I think this could take months and months to actually develop. So going forward, I think we easily could retest this -1, and then we could then go back up and retest the +1 as that squeeze, as I said, develops. But overall, the monthly structure is still looking okay as we have positively stacked EMAs. Price action is pretty close to that 21 EMA right now. Did close below it. Well, not closed below it yet, but looking to close below it this month. We shall see how the rest of this week, next week, pans out. But overall, I think this monthly time frame will just kind of chop back and forth until that squeeze develops fully. So that's kind of my overall breakdown of the market here. Now let's get into the actual top 5 plays that I'm looking at. Start off here by getting rid of the 200 SMA, as I usually do not have that on my charts. Alrighty, so the first play here is going to be BABA to the downside. So if we zoom in here a little bit, we can see that its overall trend is still very bearish as we have negatively stacked DMAs. We are kind of in a downtrend, as you can see here. We did get this big spike up, but we do have this gap to fill around 94, and then we have this gap to fill around 84. So there are some strong gaps to the downside that eventually will need to be filled. The only thing that's kind of leading me to not like this play as much is that there is a huge gap to the upside at 120 that eventually needs to be filled. But with the overall market still looking very bearish, I think that likely most stocks will follow as well. You will have those outliers, but I do think that we can see more downside here on BABA as well. If we do look at this daily squeeze, it does have the bullish momentum, so ideally we'd like to see that turn into these darker blue bars, which means that bullish momentum is going away. And ideally would like to see a close below that 21 EMA or a gap fill here will lead me to believe that it is more bearish than it is going to be bullish. So I do like BABA here to the downside. Next one here is CrowdStrike to the upside. You can see after this strong sell-off, we've had a very nice trend upwards here. And if we zoom in a little bit more, if we take a look at this previous daily squeeze, you can see that it held this 21 EMA here perfectly, and then off of that level, it bounced up to the +2 ATR, which is always a great place to take profits, and then it reset itself once again right back around that 21 EMA, and now with this daily squeeze forming, I think the exact same thing can happen here. We'll get the hold of the 21 EMA, and then we'll get the push up to the +2 ATR and take the profits. This is looking like my bread and butter kind of a play here. Ideally just need this 21 EMA to hold and get a retest of it for an entry, but it does look solid to the upside in my opinion. Next one here is NEO to the downside. We've been having a very nice downtrend here, kind of a consolidation area, as we see that we've had a very, very long daily squeeze forming. This just shows me that it eventually will want to make a larger than expected move, and with its structure looking more bearish than bullish, I will be looking for this play to fire to the downside. So we don't have any stacked DMAs, but we are in a deceleration stage, which is bearish, and would like to see that break of the 21 EMA here once again, and then a retest for an entry, and also would like to see this daily squeeze roll over to where we have the bearish momentum on the squeeze histogram. But as I said before, with the overall market looking quite bearish, I think that this one can just roll over with it as well. Next one here is Raytheon. Actually have a play right now going on with the team that we are in this one for puts due to its overall structure here looking very bearish. So we have a very long consolidation period, pretty long period of being in a squeeze. I think it's ready to make its next move lower. We don't have any stacked DMAs. Our price action is now back down below that 21 EMA, and we have a gap to fill down around this 92.50 region, and I think it could even fall back down to this -2 ATR region right around that $90. So in my opinion, this one does look really solid to the downside, with the overall market itself looking quite bearish. And then last but not least here on the list, we have T-Mobile to the upside or the downside, depending on where this market actually wants to go. So as of right now, it is quite bullish. We have positively stacked EMAs. We're in the acceleration stage. Don't like that we got the close below the 21 EMA, but our squeeze histogram is still above that 0 line. So here are the two situations. If we can reclaim the 21 EMA, I like it to the upside. If we test that 21 EMA again and reject it, I like the gap fill down here to about 135-ish. I think that would be a solid play to the downside. So really keep your eye on that 21 EMA and how the price action handles it and what it can actually do with it. So T-Mobile, in my opinion, is a good trade regardless, either to the upside or the downside based off what it does there. So these are the top 5 stocks I'm looking at for the upcoming week. Hopefully it gives you all a few other things to add to your own watch list and keep your eyes on as well. Now let's go out there on Monday and start making some money, everybody.